What is going on, kings and queens of this wonderful wonderland that we call YouTube? So, today's video is really a prime example of what happens when you let your content schedule get crazy and completely out of hand. As the title suggests, today we are finally reviewing WWE 2K16. And this is a video that I've been planning to do since the game came out in October of 2015, and I just couldn't get there. Whether it be because of the different filming hiatuses I took where I wasn't filming at all, or me finding other content to do instead of this, and you know that kind of pushed it on the back burner. But before I knew it, um, October of last year crept up on me, and with it came the newest installment to the WWE franchise, WWE 2K17. And I figured the next step to do, if I was going to do it at all, would be kind of a double review or a comparison, if you will. And I figured I better sit down and get this done before October rolls around again and gives us 2K18. Um, so admittedly, 2K16 was probably the first wrestling game that I've owned and played since roughly 2008, back in the old SmackDown versus Raw days. Um, and you know, I'm a pretty big WWE guy. I've been watching it since I was 4. I've had everything from movies to action figures to posters to basically every game that had come out up to that point. And I had realized that I'd reached a point where I thought maybe um, watching wrestling every week was all I needed to satisfy my fandom, and I didn't need all the movies and the video games anymore. And I had noticed that WWE was really starting to um, bring out the yearly installments like Madden or hockey or any other sports game, and a lot of other type of games, for that matter. And I guess I just couldn't justify any longer spending $60 on a wrestling game every year. Um, and I've been able to kind of ignore uh, every wrestling game since. I'm not saying they don't look cool and they don't look like something that I'd play. I just, got it in my mind that I don't want to buy anymore. That's not really something I'm into spending my money on. And I'd been able to successfully, uh, you know, fight off that demon, if you will. That wasn't until 2016 rolled around. And of course, what got my attention with this one is not only the showcase mode involving one of my personal favorite wrestlers, Stone Cold Steve Austin, but also Sting being a playable member of the roster. And it was one of those things where I didn't admit at first that it was something I wanted. Uh, I did one of those things where I'm like, I don't need it, I don't need it, I don't need it, every time the commercial came on. And then one time I was like, screw it, I do need it. And then probably a week or so after the game came out, I broke down and I bought it. Um, and as you can imagine, after not playing a game for 10 or so years, I had quite the learning curve. Because wrestling games are no longer that mash X to beat the crap out of your friends and win. It's a lot more difficult. It's a lot more technical. It's a lot more uh, realistic, I guess would be the word for it. So you can imagine the weeks of practice and yelling at my TV that it took to understand the game. And there was a short period where I didn't really have anything good to say about the game. Excuse me. I said I told my girlfriend I hated it. It sucks. I can't play it. I don't understand. Um, but after enough practice, I really got to know how the game worked. I got to know how the controls worked. And I really fell in love with wrestling games again. Um, Primarily because of the showcase mode involving Stone Cold Steve Austin. They did a great job of showcasing, in parentheses, showcasing his career from start to finish, which was really cool. Because being the big wrestling fan that I am, it's always nice to relive certain childhood moments that I do remember, and also experience for the first time ones that I don't. Uh, and through this, I got my girlfriend into wrestling, and she got into Stone Cold Steve Austin, so I was able to kind of be like, this is how this happened, or this is where he started, or whatever. And we were kind of able to take that journey together. So if you're a fan of the of wrestling, it's really nice to kind of relive some of those moments, and I think showcase mode as a whole kind of appeals to and is for fans like me who've grown up with WWE and particularly in this case Stone Cold Steve Austin. So it was just really great to see that in such great detail, and they mix cutscenes and storytelling of his career in really well with gameplay, and you get to relive some of his greatest matches, and altogether the showcase for 2K16 really stood out to me, and is a really really high point. Another good part about the game that didn't stand out so high for me, or as high, is the career mode. I had fun creating my character and stuff. But it's really different. Like I said, this experience was all about the learning curve of how things have changed, and the career mode really has changed. Um, Instead of basically what I remember in the career mode of the last game I played, if you played well enough and wanted a title, you went and caroused around backstage and was like, I want this title, and the general manager would either say yes or no, and that was that. You either got the match or you didn't. This one is a lot more realistic in the fact of you have to earn your way up the rankings, which starts out a little slow, um, but I was still able to progress relatively quickly as long as I beat uh, the person ahead of me in the rankings enough times. And before I knew it, I was able to capture my first championship in relatively quick fashion. The biggest thing that I can say that I really don't like about the career mode is the whole needing to, you can't target the champion anytime you want. If you're the number one contender to have a title match at the next pay-per-view, you have to start a rivalry with the champion at the first of the month. If you don't do that, then you have to wait till the next month. And of course, you run the risk of losing your number one contender spot. So that's a little hellacious. But all the way around, it's a pretty fun experience. You know, I feel like between the phenomenal showcase mode, the career mode, all the creation modes. I had a lot of fun creating some of my own characters, like the Joker and Harley Quinn and Jason Voorhees, and the Mario Bros. So I just really had a great time with the game in its entirety. Like I said, though, I really don't think it's a really great game to play unless you're a fan of WWE to some extent, just because there's so much history involved in it. You know, the showcase does do a good job of, you know, like I said, having fans be able to relive those moments. And if you're like my girlfriend, who didn't know much about Stone Cold Steve Austin, you know, it helped her really kind of learn and go through that history. But I don't think if you're not a fan of WWE and you're just playing it to face your friends at, I really don't think it's that type of game. I think it's too complex for that all the way around, and it's really made for fans, whether you're new or like me, who's been around the block with WWE for quite some time now. But yeah, either way, 2016, honestly, if I was gonna give it a rating, I would have to say probably a solid 9 out of 10. I feel really good about it. I feel like everything from the creation modes to the showcase and the career, everything that you can do in the game, there's so much to do, there's so much availability, and once you get a hold of the game and really start to understand the game, there is really a lot of fun to be had. So now comes 2K17, and I had high hopes for this game, especially coming off of 2016. I jumped right off the couch when I saw that the major draw or the major selling point for 2017 was to have Goldberg as a playable character. And that was particularly cool to me, not only because I'm a major Goldberg fan. Goldberg kicks so much ass. But it's been a long time since Goldberg has been in a WWE game, to my knowledge. Like I said, my knowledge of former WWE game rosters is really kind of foggy. I do know that in the last game he was in that I owned, it was SmackDown Here Comes the Pain. That was when he was on the main roster on Monday Night Raw. Anything after that, I'm not sure of. But nonetheless, it was really cool to see him come back and to really have that fantasy warfare thing with Brock Lesnar. So right off the bat, I was like, I'm getting it. No question. 2K16 was phenomenal. Goldberg's in 2K17, let's do this. So I got it. And I was all happy and smiles and grins, and I've had it since the game came out. I pre-ordered it to get Goldberg. And I was disappointed. There's not a whole lot. It's so weird because it almost feels like the game isn't finished to me. Um, you know, there's no showcase mode, so right off the bat, we're missing something huge. To go from Stone Cold Steve Austin showcase mode to not having one, which I think is a really missed opportunity. Um, because I would have liked to see, uh, a Goldberg showcase or maybe even a Sting showcase, something to fill that gap. So all we really have is the career mode, which, as opposed to last year, where it was fun at times and really kind of enjoyable when you got the hang of it. This one, I hate it. I have accomplished nothing in that game, primarily because I can't stand it. Um, it's extremely repetitive. I feel like it takes forever to get anywhere on the ranking system. You face the same 5 people over and over again, and you just don't get anywhere. Um, and I mean, I've had the game for months, and I haven't played it consistently. But the farthest I ever got was number 7 on the title reign, or the title, ranking thing. And that was after weeks of trying to get places, and I just couldn't, and I just got frustrated, and I got bored, to be quite honest. I even looked up Let's Plays and other YouTubers playing it to see maybe it was just me, maybe I'm playing it wrong. And no, that's not even the case. It is really just that slow. It takes ages to get anywhere. And another thing, that really kind of threw me off about the career mode in 2K17. One, they've made it so the game comes across as more realistic, which by all means is very, very cool. It plays out just like it would on actual TV or the actual pay-per-views and what have you, which is really cool. But in order to make that happen, in order to have new game mechanics like the promos and the bickering back and forth and the backstage brawls and all that new stuff that makes the game really cool in some ways, they had to sacrifice some really nice features that the previous game had. One that sticks out really far in my mind is the fact that the voices are no longer acted. Um, uh, the game is brought to you via text instead of voiced, like 2K16 was. And that one really kind of, I don't know, like I guess I understand you gotta take in some aspects to give in others. Um, but I really just didn't appreciate that. I didn't buy 2017 to feel like I was playing a wrestling game from the early 2000s, and that's not only that's not the only kind of callback to old games that they had. Um, because there's no showcase, and maybe it was just filler, they brought back the WWE store, meaning that instead of playing through the showcase and unlocking all the championships and the pay-per-views and the roster, they did the store. They did the tactic that games had in the early days, where you had to earn money via career mode to unlock everything, which is super annoying because that means that I have to play the game an ungodly amount if I want to earn enough money to unlock everything. Um, I will give them credit where it's due in that regard, though, because back in the olden days when I came to the store, the only way that you could earn money for the store was via the career mode, um, which is still a thing. You can still earn money in the career mode, but they also made it to where you can earn money just by playing the game in single player, whether you play by yourself or with friends. It rates your matches, and of course, the more stars you get, the better of a performance you give for the crowd, the more money you get to put towards the store. The problem with this, and it's really nice on paper, and it's really nice to earn money because it goes quicker. But the problem is that the money that you earn in single player towards the store and the money that you earn in the career mode are all tied together. Um, and as we know, in the career mode, to upgrade your character, or to buy new moves or attributes or anything, that takes money. So it becomes a choice decision to either buy something from the store to unlock, a new title or a new pay-per-view or whatever, or to make your character and your career better. And that's not really a choice I like making. I think they would have been better off making it so they were two separate allotments of money. One for unlocking things and the other for making your character better. I don't know. I'm kind of picky about that kind of thing. And it just but all in all, the whole thing makes it so you have to play the game a lot. And I don't think that justifies the amount that you have to play it, because the game's not really that good. It almost feels like the game isn't even really that done. It almost feels like it's kind of a demo. Like, I played it and I'm like, well, where's the rest of it? Because I got so enthralled with the showcase mode that isn't there and everything. The creative side of 2K is still there. The only thing that really kind of sticks a stick in my gears, if you will, is you can't import from the following year. And that was one thing where I was like, oh, I'm just gonna import the Joker and Harley and Jason and all that to the next game, and I'm not gonna have to spend all this time making them. And much to my disappointment, this isn't the case. You have to start from scratch. And we all know that if you want a good character via, from creation to finished product, that takes time because you have to create their entrances and you have to create their moveset, and it just takes an ungodly amount of time that I'm not looking forward to re-giving a game that isn't really that good. I think the highest point of 2K17 is, of course, the fact that Goldberg is in it. and Brock Lesnar is in it again. Um, I think the roster for this game is probably the highest point. Um, because you got Lita and Trish Stratus back. You got the Dudley Boys. You've got the New Age Outlaws. Just a pretty good smorgasbord of WWE legends and people from the past, which, like I said, I'll give them credit, is pretty cool. But in comparing the two games, in comparing 2K16 to 2K17, 2K17 just doesn't hold up quite as well. It was very underwhelming, minus Goldberg. Uh, and just how they set it up and how they handled things, I don't think they hit the mark this time. So if I had to rate this one, I would probably give it, unfortunately, a 6 out of 10. Because it's good and it's fun in ways, but the places where it shines just don't stay bright. So if you're looking into each of those games, I would definitely say play 2016 without a doubt if you're a fan of WWE. For the showcase mode. 2017 I can really take or leave. I guess if you want Goldberg and you want um different a different roster, um you know 2017 might still be a thing for you. Just be aware that it is going to take a fair amount of time to unlock everything. I've had the game since it came out. Like I said, I pre-ordered it, and I'm still nowhere near where I should be as far as having everything unlocked. So just be aware that you're going to really have to grind. But all in all, these two games do make me very, very excited to see what happens with 2018. So whether or not you like 2K16 and 2K17, definitely I'm keeping my head up for next year's installment. But with that being said, ladies and gentlemen, as always, I salute you, and remember, we're all mad here.